Well, hello guys and gals, welcome to Miyagi Mornings, episode 106. Will we get our kicks at 106? We will see today. I've got a question today that I've gotten a lot of versions thereof about real estate. And anybody that's listened to my podcast and to somewhat my video channels for any length of time knows that I'm a big believer in real estate. I'm not a high leverage guy. I'm not a landlord type. I believe that those are great business models, don't get me wrong. But personally, I've done best with real estate by buying really, really smart and selling at the right time for me in my life. And no matter when I've sold, I've been able to make money on a property. And no matter when I've bought, I've been able to buy good value. These are unusual times right now. Boy, it'd be easy to sell. The profit I could take on my property right now would be insane. The other side of it, though, is you got to have somewhere to go. And I really don't want to go anywhere. But a lot of you do. And I want to talk about where we are, how we got here, and what comes next. Because what people are asking is about buying in a seller's market. And about a year and a half ago, I did a podcast on this. And it was still a really great time to buy, even though it was already a seller's market. And I gave a lot of strategies and tactics in that. And somebody said, can you do a short version on Miyagi in our MeWe post? But I've gotten a ton of questions about, is this the right time to buy? Should I build now? Should I wait? You know, what's going on? Well, this is one of those things. I feel a lot about this question like I did about how do I get started prepping when people were asking that in like April last year after COVID hit and everybody lost their minds and people wiped out the shelves of things and all. And it was like, it was so easy to do up till now. The world is not ending. Take a breath. Make sure you have enough to get by for 5-6 weeks and you'll be able to begin prepping the smart, right way. And that's exactly what happened. There's a cycle I want you to think of, and there's various things that cause these cycles. There's market forces, there's shortages, there's lots of ways. But no commodity, no anything is immune to this cycle. Boom, glut, bust. Boom, glut, bust. And the glut can be in production or it can be in purchase. And when you're in a situation where the boom and the glut are with, prices going up and then purchasing happening anyway, the cycle tends to last longer and is harder to wait out than the typical cycle of commodity with boom, glut, bust. The cycle of commodity with boom, glut, bust is something we can explain, for instance, with CBD, which I said would happen as well. When everybody was jumping into it, we have a lot of ag people in our audience and stuff like that. I'm going to get into CBD. I'm going to do that. Boom, glut, bust, guys. It takes time for you to ramp this cycle up, and it's going to happen. And it did. And people said, well, how would you know that? This is before it cycled. Because it always happens. But in that, you have a boom, and then you have a glut of supply, and then you have a bust in price. Because since it's a commodity that can be increased in volume, in production, eventually the supply will exceed the demand, and you get the bust side of the cycle. Real estate is a highly limited commodity. Especially when we break it down into the 4 categories we're about to break down where the real demand is right now. So there's not a shortage of real property right now. There's a shortage of the type of real property that the people want to buy right now. There is a surplus of property in Manhattan, which is crazy. Never happened in a million years, I guess, I guess it has before, but never like it is right now. There's a surplus of property in San Francisco. There's a surplus of property in Los Angeles. And I know some of you are like on the outskirts of LA going, yeah, they're more expensive than ever. Again, type, right? But there's 4 properties, and in my audience, they're probably exactly the 4 types of properties in order that people would prefer to have that have gone through this incredible cycle because people have left the cities in a mass exodus. There were videos in New York City this last year of Ryder trucks and Uhauls leaving, and it looked like what it really was. Instead of, we have these typical cycles in real estate. So you have, like, you can look and you can see at the macro level, you can see the demographic shifts happen as people migrate and move around. But I don't think it's ever happened like this. What it was is basically affluent refugees. When you have a literal caravan of moving trucks leaving, that's a mass migration. When you have people, and I know for a fact this happened, that drove from like LA to Nevada, rented a truck, drove it back to LA, and then drove it across the country because they couldn't get one in LA. You have something going on, a mega shift that we haven't really seen before, and that's what's caused this. And as this was beginning, and before it even started, I reiterated the call I've been making now for 13 years. Get out of the flashpoint cities. Get out of the liberal cities. Get out of the stupid states. Get out of the population centers. And for years I said, you have time. Take your time and do this. Then last year, when this all started, I wrote an article completely detailing everything that was going to happen and said, if you want to move now, not next week, now. You need to start looking now. You need to plan now. You got to go now. And that if you didn't, we were going to have these types of properties dry up. And when they dried up, they would be very difficult to come by and very expensive. That's where we are now. So patience is really always a virtue in real estate, really a virtue now. But here's your 4 types of properties. 1, small town homes, and I don't mean town homes, small town homes. Got it? So not town homes like little row houses, small town homes, where the towns are small enough to be, the only way I can put it is not full of stupid, but big enough to have most of the things people want. These are going to be towns that are somewhere between 15 and 50,000 people. And it has to be a town like that that's not like appended, like it's like really it looks like it's separate, but it's kind of a suburb to a big city, right? These little towns that are kind of like, that's the biggest town within 30 or 40 miles, and then it has almost like its own little satellite suburbs. That is the most in-demand thing there is right now. People can get high-speed internet, they can have coffee shops, there's a freaking Starbucks, things like that, right? And all the creature comforts. And if you're a tech person that can now work remotely, like that's kind of the first place that you look. And those have gone stupid in price. Urban rural fringe properties, right where I'm at. Right what I've always said is one of the sweetest spots in the world to be, because you have the big city accoutrements, but none of the interference. So you can get anything you want from the cities and the towns, but you don't have to be part of it. You also have a huge population center to sell to if you're in the ag business or something like that. And just to drive home, house, and I'd say those 2 properties types are almost tied. There's some variance depending on what part of the country you're in, etc. But overall, they're the 2 most in-demand properties right now. How much so? Where I live, within 10 miles of my house, if you don't count getting closer to the city where you start to go into the suburbs of the actual city, there's 1 house for sale within 10-mile radius. So like, let's say a 270-degree radius. If you go straight down into town, there's a few more. 1, and it's selling for over $1 million. And it's a much bigger house than mine, don't get me wrong. It's not like all the houses are worth $1 million. I'm just saying, that doesn't exist. I got a friend that wants to move here right now to my area. Nothing for sale. That's how strong the demand is. 3, traditional suburbs in what we would call free states. The states that didn't go completely stupid with COVID, Texas, Florida, etc. Right? So now you're into your more, like around here, you're into your Planos, your Richardsons and stuff like that. Like those properties just gobbled up. And that's the mass influx of people that aren't necessarily moving to get away from the COVID restrictions, but they kind of are. But because the economies are booming in these states, there are people that move in that they want a normal house and they don't want to live in the downtown urban center. So those properties have gotten stupid expensive. And they're probably about the 3rd most in demand. And then the 4th are your truly rural properties, which are, don't get me wrong, because I labeled them 4th, like that they're not highly in demand. They're like ridiculously inflated in price. And if you look at those properties, this is the important window that you need to be looking through. What makes this something that you can be pretty sure will eventually self-correct is it's a fairly small demographic within a fairly small demographic of people. It's tens of millions of people, but it's still limited. There's still a point where it kind of plays itself out. The people making these moves are affluent. I didn't say rich, but they're affluent, meaning they make enough money that when they want to fill their gas tank, if the price is shot up to $3 or $4 a gallon, they might bitch about it, but they don't not do it. You get what I'm saying? If they're kind of family that if the old man goes home on Friday afternoon and turns out grandma can watch kids, and wife says, hey, what about a date night? And so they're going to go out and drop $100-$150 on dinner. They do it. They don't run the checkbook to make sure that they can. That's the kind of people, the majority of people that are moving right now. There's only so many of those people. There are also people that are willing to move and can move. You got that? Okay. So there's a point where that migration kind of does what it's going to do, and then you have a lot of other factors with eventual downward pressure on the real estate market. If interest rates go up like a stupid thing, like a quarter of a point, it's going to like hurt really, really bad, because when the prices are inflated, a small interest rate increase really hurts the market. As the migration plays itself out, you're having a lot of places right now where they're building new homes as fast as they can, but there's a supply shortage on roofing material, board lumber, plywood, OSB, etc. That will correct. And then there's your glut on the supply side, because they're only building houses where the demand is. They're not building them across the whole country. You understand that, right? So when this plays out, it's going to take a while to unwind and see these prices begin to come down. But if it were me right now, and I didn't get out when I was told to, and I wanted out now, I would look really hard at renting. So if what you want most is to get out, find something affordable to rent. There's a lot of that out there right now, even in some places you wouldn't think. I just spoke to a fishing guide that I fished with in Florida. He's renting on Sanibel Island, where there are $1 million homes around every turn. If you want something on the water, it's multi-million dollars if it's a shack. And he's still doing okay with rental. If you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. Because that definitely fits the demographic of the type of people we're talking getting the hell out. Right? It's Florida, and it's coastal property, and it's an incredible place. Right? So if you can do it there, you can do it anywhere. And then begin house hunting. I'm not saying not to buy right now. I'm saying not to buy into the inflated market right now. You want to buy when there's blood in the water. And right now, the only blood in the water is the buyer's blood. So you might not have to wait till there's an all-out frenzy on selling, but I think that you can time this. That doesn't mean you might not find the right property at the right price right now. What you're going to have to deal with, property that needs significant work. And I mean, I know what some of you are going to say, and you're right. There are places where if what the property needs in relationship to significant work is a bulldozer, it's still selling fast. So you're going to also have to find a place where that's not true. And sometimes finding that place is as little as 10 miles left, right, east, west, north, or south. Right? So that's one place to look and be incredibly patient. How patient? When Dorothy and I made the decision to sell our property in Arkansas and move back to Texas, we looked at properties for 8 months. For 8 months. Before we found the property we found. That's patience. It was a seller's market. Don't get me wrong. In this area, in North Texas, it was a seller's market. It wasn't anything like it is now. And we were still that patient. Because we realized we're making a long-term decision in our lives. We weren't buying a starter home like when we got started out. We weren't moving to Pennsylvania so I could take a position with a company and like we just needed a place to live. We were making a decision about where we were going to live long term. So that's what you're doing. You got to be patient anyway. Now you got to be extremely patient. And while you're being patient, you're letting this cycle unwind. There's so much going on with this right now that's going to make it take longer, though, and that's why patience must become an incredible virtue in your life with real estate right now. And again, it should always be. But it's also the material shortages. So what that's doing is, like, flipping houses is almost impractical right now. I'm going to say impossible, but impractical. How can I flip a house when I have to pay 3 times what I used to pay for plywood? How can I flip a house when some of the roofing materials companies aren't even taking orders for the next 60 days? You see the issue there. How can I move into a house that needs repairs before I move in when I can't get the material or the cost of the material is obscene to make those repairs? It's very, very difficult. So what is going to be the formula if you're going to buy now is finding somebody totally screwed that doesn't realize what they have. And you're going to have to find these little tucked away niches and gems, and that's just going to take shopping and patience. or figuring out how to do things with like recycled and repurposed materials. But even that's exploding right now. Like, it used to be like getting repurposed barn lumber was expensive, but it was doable. Even that's like just gone nuts. So what I've always said about real estate, and it's probably more true right now than it's ever been, you have to become a Vulcan when it goes into buying and selling real estate. You don't give two shits about anybody's feelings or emotions, especially your own. When you go make an offer on a property and their agent comes back with some kind of sob story about, I don't care. That's a sign that you've hit a right price point. When you hear some sort of sob, and I've heard it. When I bought this place, I heard a sob story. And the property simply didn't appraise at the asking price. They didn't appraise at the offer price. And we knew we had them over a barrel. And so they told, their agent came through our agent and told us all their problems. And I said, their bigger problem is they have a property now that's appraised at this amount, which is how much we're willing to pay. And that's how much anybody's going to be willing to pay. Go tell them that. And we had to wait 2 weeks over New Year's to get an answer back. And my wife was like, oh my God, we're going to lose. No, we're not. No, we're not. Because you're in that position strong. And when you know you're strong in that position, don't yield. The other side of your emotion is don't get emotionally attached to a property. Don't start making plans for a property. Don't start believing it is the property. It's the only one like it. It's the perfect one for you. It's the only one. Because then you will become irrational in your willingness to do whatever it takes to obtain that property. And then worse, you probably won't get it anyway. And then you become more and more irrational, which each new property willing to do more and more and more before I lose that one too. And then you end up buying overpriced in an overpriced market at the exact worst time. And when the correction happens, you'll end up like a lot of people did in the 80s, having purchased properties that they were unable to get out from underneath for 10 to 15 years. And I don't care how much this is your forever place, you don't ever want to be in a property that you can't divest yourself of. You want to keep your real estate portion of your portfolio as close to liquid as possible. And that comes through patience and persistence. The biggest advice I've always had with real estate, shopping is free. Shop online, shop in the real world. Don't deal with real estate agents right now until you find something you really, because they'll lie to you, they'll push you, they'll prod you. If you're not already immune to their tricks, their freaking Jedi mind tricks, this is a terrible time to be dealing with a real estate agent. Because they'll say things like, well, I'd hate to see you lose that property you love so much. You love the property. I'm serious. Like, this is what these people do. I'm not picking on real estate agents, but it's what they do. Especially when they're on the buyer's side of the equation, right? I have to admit that in all of the real estate deals I've ever done, I've had 2 where I had competent agents, and the rest of them I had to do the agent's frickin' job. You probably will. So you need to be in the right state of mind when you engage with an agent. But what you can do is simply drive by. Look at properties, find a list of properties you think are cool, and drive by and get an understanding of them and watch them and see how long it takes them to sell. Start to understand what fair market value really is in your... And what you'll start to see is a trend. And right now the trend looks like... Well, the trend looks like, let's say, this. It's already done this, and now it's this. It's not this, right? It's and in various places it's coming down. For those that are listening to the audio, basically we had a steep rise, and now we have a leveling, but it's still on the ascent. You start shopping now, and you'll see when that descent begins to come. You'll start to understand when the opportunity presents itself. You've got to be patient. If you find the right property, by all means, be ready to act, be pre-approved, have the money set aside, whatever it is, and be ready to go. But if it were me, right now, in most places like the ones I've described, I'd be looking to rent, to set up a beachhead, and to take my time shopping. I'm sorry I can't give you like a formula to simply get a great deal right now. It's that part of the cycle where the good deals are hard to come by. They can still be found, but it's going to take hunting, patience, and a lack of emotion. With that, I'll be back tomorrow with a completely different subject on Miyagi Mornings.